Hello, and welcome to Through the Monocle. And 3 hours, 56 minutes into this recording, we will be discussing Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. As always, I'm your host, Grant Ingram, and usually I don't tell you how long into the recording it's been before I play the intro, but this is a particularly long episode. I feel like Grant needs a particular thank you for sitting in his room for this long, because Grant has never existed by himself for this long before. Certainly not in the woods late at night, but that's another story. Anyway, welcome to the show, Grant Skillen, or as you know him, Haley Joel Osmont. How you doing?
I am getting my setup worked out because my MacBook is at 5%. And I was trying to tell you that before you started, but I think I'm good now.
Okay.
So how are you?
I am fantastic. That was a really good set of movies.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a two-parter. We reviewed it we watched it both parts. We're going to review it as one film. Yes. But we can kind of split up our thoughts, I guess, if we really want to pick favorites. The Rotten Tomatoes is an 85-81 for the first part and an 84-89 for the second part.
So relatively even, really.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird that it's low, but I think also the kind of movie it isn't a normal blow them away. Like, it is a spoof of movies.
Yeah.
And that is my favorite part of it.
It's very good. We were talking through it. I think I personally prefer part one a little bit more, although that's because the first hour of part two is quite honestly slow.
It's very boring.
Not to say it's like bad, but it's slow. It does pick up, but even then it's still kind of a slow pace. I don't know. I feel like part one kind of had a bit more action to it, and I kind of enjoyed that.
It did. Part one was her murderous rampage. Part two was her finishing the job and discovering she didn't really want to have to finish the job, but she still kind of did.
Yeah. Are you going to kill your baby daddy?
That's a question I've wondered for a lot of times. I've never had to do it, but when I do, I'll now know it's the 3-inch death punch and the 5 steps afterwards.
Okay.
I don't know. I was trying to figure out a good response to that, Grant. You kind of backed me into a corner, man.
You didn't have to answer.
Anyway.
You didn't have to answer the question. It was a rhetorical question.
It was not a good rhetorical question there, Grant. It was bad rhetoric. Good movie. Very good movie. I agree that the first part had more action. I like the second part a lot. It was very slow towards the beginning, but I kind of like that it slowed down.
If I could say one thing, I think this I know he did a cut where it was the 4 hour. I think this might have been a little better if some of the slow stuff was cut out and it was like a 3-hour movie.
See, the whole reason it's a 2-part movie is he didn't want to have to cut anything.
That's why I'm saying I don't care, Quentin. I think it might have been better.
I will say, had the first part of the second movie not been a recap of the first movie, I would have been more invested immediately.
It's also just slow, and then like there's a lot more scenes in the second movie, and this is personal, and I know you kind of were the same way, but some of the scenes were just too much. Like the eye, that was too much.
The eye was too much, but the eye was not too much. I couldn't watch it. I kind of glimpsed at it. It bothered me, but like I also liked that it was there because first off, it's a hilarious way to kill somebody. Like, hey man, you've already had one ripped out. I'm gonna rip out the other one. Just sit there and cry.
To me, the scene in the like wooden casket being buried was also a little too long.
It was, and I thought that you definitely could have cut maybe a minute off of that.
It was like almost 10 minutes. It wasn't that long, but it was a couple minutes of that. And I'm
with her in the casket was probably 2 minutes.
2 or 3.
I like it. I think it could have been shorter, but in saying that, the only reason I would make it shorter is to make it shorter. Like it
didn't need to be that long, in my opinion.
It didn't need to be that long, but it also doesn't need to be less long.
It was unnecessarily long, I feel like.
Well, I mean, do you want to induce panic? So if you're sitting here in 2004 in a theater, first off, you're crying like a baby because, well, you're a baby. But secondly, if you're sitting in a theater in 2004 and all of a sudden the screen goes pitch dark and you're hearing things, like you start to get a little worried. Like it's done for that effect. He makes movies for the cinema. And like I get that. So I can
That's
kind
what
of
I'm
get
saying is like I was not watching the movie for those 2 minutes.
what I'm saying is those 2 minutes I think serve a purpose if you're in the theater. When it's pitch dark and you're wondering what the heck is going on.
But you don't need that long, is just my thought. But
You don't, but I mean, it also gives you a bit of like circumstance. Okay, she's down there. Now she's flashing back to when she learned to punch through a board with Captain Eyebrow Man.
Yeah.
Which that was another problem I had with the second part of it. And I'm treating it like one movie. I think as one movie, it works really well. If you don't cut the distinction at the fight scene with the crazy 88, I think it works better because as it is, that's your midpoint, and then your third act is slower, but it's a third act. Like it builds to that finale. Whereas if you judge part two as a single movie, it's slow and then it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's all movie, it makes a lot more sense. So
the thing to me though is I get the slow part, but the slow part is an hour.
Yeah.
It's half of the second movie and it's a quarter of the full story just being really slow.
Yeah, but also you got to think she's already taken out the big one. Two of the five she's taken out.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's Bill, and the other two hate each other.
Yeah.
So none of them have a Yakuza army. So like that's the tougher part. Like you can't top that finale.
That's what I'm saying. So then there's essentially, if I'm gonna put words in your mouth here, because of the stuff, there's some fluff in there to make the movie longer.
I don't think that there's fluff to make the movie longer. I think if the movie wasn't longer, I think you would go, okay, why the heck are we going directly from this big fight scene to a slow conversation with Bill that ends with Bill getting punched in the chest? Like, I get what you're saying. I'm saying that I think that hour has to be there. Otherwise, you end up going from start to climax, and then on the falling action, we actually kill Bill. Whereas with this, we go from start to climax to it starts to pick back up again, and then we kill Bill and it falls off again.
Yeah.
Like if you complete the goal on the falling action, it always feels unsatisfying. Like you got to ride the roller coaster up and down and back up. I thought it worked well. I liked getting more backstory on the bride. I like getting more backstory on the people around her. Like
the backstory is cool, but I don't think it needed to be over half of the. I mean, really, it's almost the entire second movie.
Well, let's throw this out. Almost the entire first movie was the same thing. The movie started out, you got that big fight at the beginning, but then you go directly into the anime.
Yeah, that was, I think we were both kind of like, that was also a bit too long in my opinion. Like, it's cool to throw that in there, but
I agree. That was too long. But I mean, if you're going to make that for your art house, whatever, I don't think you need to cut it. I just think it was too long for my taste. So from there, like, I don't know. I think both of them did a good job at doing what they wanted to do. I think it feels better as one film. Like, I think if you get rid of that part line, it feels a lot better.
It does for sure, but
because you also got to think it cuts 10 minutes off of that first hour of slowness to get rid of that recap scene.
So just take more off.
Right, but you have to have it if you're going to split the movie into two parts and release them 6 months apart.
Yeah.
So I think the whole bloody affair, the way the movie is supposed to be seen, works better than watching it in two parts. Because I think if you get rid of that recap scene, you get into the movie a little quicker.
Maybe. That's me saying that as a critique, but still thinking it's very good overall.
Yeah.
Just, it could be shorter, is my thought.
No, I'm with you.
It's not me going, oh, I hate this, it's way too long. Like, it, to me, the second half did get a little long, but it didn't, just us sitting here, it didn't feel much longer than some of the other ones that were like 2.5 hours.
It definitely does not feel as long as, say, really Jackie Brown. Like, Jackie Brown was a long movie.
I can tell you what felt long.
jokes.
Sometimes the elements get the best of them. The older penguins know that it's just a matter of time before they call out,
I'm freezing my nuts off!
That
Samuel
movie right
L.
there
Jackson.
is too long. Way too long.
I get it. It is too long. But I will say, I think this movie had a good balance. I'm happy with where it was.
It's like if I had to give scores, I would give like part one like a solid A. Like the first half and the second half like a solid B plus.
And what would you give the whole thing as one movie?
Okay, in between like A minus.
Okay. I can get with that.
Which is not too dissimilar from what the audience in general thinks.
Except the audience is flipped. The audience gives part one lower and part two higher.
But it's still mid to high 80s. So it ends up just under where I'm at, but same ballpark.
I get you. Yeah, I'm with you. I really like the movie. The violence got to be a little much, but it got to be a little much by choice. Like, it wasn't like it was, oh, well, we're going for Subdued and we accidentally grossed out Ingram. Like, it was an over-the-top violent movie.
It was absolutely over the top.
The little girl is what redeemed part two for me.
Yeah, that definitely made it better.
She was the best part of the movie, in my opinion. Yeah, I just really like it a lot. I really like it a lot.
Yeah.
That's
So
how
one
it is.
thing, if we can get to a couple fun facts, you mentioned from the time in the final fight scene in the first movie with I'm forgetting her name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oren,
whatever her name is.
Oren.
They say like you have like I'm forgetting.
You have you won't last 5 minutes if you didn't save some of your strength.
Yeah, and he said it's like 4 minutes and 59 seconds until she
The fight
dies.
scene is 4 minutes and 59 seconds. From the time she says that, it's like 5:34. Yeah, it's cool. Like that's just cool.
Tis cool.
Yeah.
Trying to fill in more time here because we've been going for not even 10 minutes at this point.
No, we've been going for 15. We were under 4 hours, yeah. Because I made the note of it being like 3:57.
Yeah, you mentioned the wagon. Clint drove that around to promote the movie, and I think you said that he has it parked like in the driveway of his house.
That's hilarious. No, I do want to talk a little bit more about it. I think you could do a Kill Bill 3. But I think in order to do a Kill Bill 3, you have to get rid of the punch of Kill Bill 2. Where she is like, I'm out. I want my little girl. And I want to be done with this.
It just leaves Bill alive.
No, she killed Bill.
No, I'm saying in that.
No, people want a Kill Bill 3 with Kill Bill 2 being done. I'm saying in order to do Kill Bill 3, the idea behind Kill Bill 3 is she raises that kid to be an assassin.
Okay.
In order to do it, you get rid of the punch of she's out, she's raising her little girl. Her little girl means more to her than this life that she has loved.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I also like that message, by the way. Hey, you know what? Sometimes being a parent means giving up a little bit that you enjoy, like killing people for money.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Personally, I plan to give that up a long time ago, but whatever. Yeah, I think it's a very good movie. Like, I think I'm not going to say it's realistic by any stretch because it isn't. But the values the movie seems to have, I think, are realistic to portray.
Yeah.
I think it's like I understood where Bill was coming from by the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if we could be objective here, with what the people have done, none of those people would be considered like good people.
No.
But you can understand the actions both of Beatrix. I was trying to remember her name for a second.
Beatrix Kiddo.
Yeah, you can understand Kiddo's actions. And
to save her kiddo.
Yeah, Kiddo's kiddo. But when you're around someone like Bill and you get the realization like, this is more important to me, then her actions make sense. But then at the same time, when Bill thinks she's dead and then finds out that she's alive and she's pregnant with his kid,
kid.
and she's trying to marry someone else, then he starts to go, okay, bud, okay, kiddo.
You're not my kid. Now,
Yeah.
shooting her in the face is a bit of an overreaction, but like,
But it's Bill.
but it's Bill, and like I can.
Bill kills, so you kill Bill because Bill kills.
If you made the film from Bill's perspective, I would watch that.
Yeah,
I think Bill had a point. I don't think Bill was necessarily the bad guy in all of it.
Bill, to say Bill had a point is not to condone Bill's actions, but it's to say, there's something there.
Like, at least tell the man, hey, look, dude, I'm pregnant and I'm running off with your kid.
Yeah. Then you just die sooner, or you get taken hostage.
Or you don't. And I mean, that is more respectful. You're less likely to get shot than to disappear into El Paso for some reason. Who goes to El Paso anyway? Didn't catch it in time there, did you?
I wasn't trying.
Anyway,
I let him fly.
I think it is a very, very good movie.
Mhm.
I don't think it's the best one we've seen. I do think it's better than Jackie Brown. I think it's significantly better than Jackie Brown. I like Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown is a slow movie. It is a slow movie. It is a movie from the start to the finish. It doesn't pick up and it doesn't get quicker. Like, it is just slow.
Mhm.
It's slow. This is a much easier watch, even though it is a harder movie to watch.
There are definitely times you have to, at least we had to look away.
We just go, man.
Yeah. But I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can look away for 30 minutes,
30 minutes. Just the entire Crazy Eight. Just
I was thinking 30 seconds to a minute, so obviously it said 30 minutes.
to a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I really like it. I think part 2 is really well done. Again, I don't know that I would watch it as part 2. I don't know anybody ever goes and sits down and goes, I want to watch part 2. If you watch it all at once, it makes sense. It is good.
Yeah,
If you
unless
don't-
someone just sits down and is like, oh, I just want to watch the last a little bit, like after she finds Bill.
Now, maybe 6 months apart, you go, okay, maybe if you don't have the taste of the action-packed rush that was part 1, maybe part 2 holds up a little better.
Maybe.
Just forget that it's the same thing, right? Like, if it's a different movie, I think it's just as good.
It's possible.
If it's a continuation of part 1, it's just as good. If it's the problem is when you watch it back to back, part 2 kind of suffers.
But that's also how he wants you to watch it. So,
well, but he wants you to watch it either as one whole film or 6 months apart. He didn't intend for you to watch part 1, then immediately watch part 2. And critique the two. To critique the two against each other is unfair to the second part. Is what I mean. Yeah. Grant, you have anything else to say before we let these good folks out of here? Ladies and gentlemen.
But actually, I have to say, I can't wait to turn my fan on because you can tell I am hot right now.
I'm getting there myself. My butt cheeks are starting to hurt. And if you want to help my butt cheeks continue to hurt, you can do that by going to patreon.com/thecultured_nerd. That keeps the lights on. That keeps me in this chair. Heck, if you give us enough money, we might be able to afford a better chair. You can pay everybody there. We really appreciate it. It does mean the world to us. We joke, but it does mean the world to us. It does help pay for this nice software. And
soft chair.
No, not this soft chair. I'm sitting in a wood chair from Goodwill. But anyway, as always, in this wood chair from Goodwill, I've been your host, Grant Ingram.
And I'm no longer want to be here, but I've been your co-host, Grant Skillen. Thank you to each of our Patreon supporters. Thank you to Jose for the logo and Taylor for the intro.
And thank you, the viewer, for joining us. Please leave a like, subscribe. And if you enjoyed this, check out our other show, Much Talk About Nothing. You scan that little QR code there on the right. We've talked to some cool people. Margaret Holzer, Gabe Lee, Kevin Altieri, Larry Houston, David Anaxagoras. You get the idea. Also, if you want more of the cultured nerd, which let's be honest, you're more likely to want more of the cultured nerd, you can scan that QR code there on the left. They've also interviewed some cool people like Zack Snyder and, cool people.
I think that just links to our page.
I don't know what it links to. It doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, and we'll be back next week. Maybe not. We're not 100% sure yet. We should be back next week with something. Thank you so much. See you then.